Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast, the first episode of the year 2024. Dun, 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 dun. You know, get ready to start writing the year wrong whenever you have to write years on stuff, which, like, I don't really have to do anymore. So I'll be okay, probably, unless I'm, like, writing a check, which even that I don't do very much. I'm here with Techtic and Nerdbomber. I'm, of course, Illeagle 86. We're back from our holiday break. So we should come across as fresher and more vibrant than we were before. So if we don't, you know, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That was a weird way to ask for an Apple Podcast review, but
just be like, anyways, you guys sound not fresh.
You don't sound as zippy as you
sour.
Let me ask you guys. I'm going to start. We have topics today. I can tell you briefly what they are. We're going to talk about Mickey Mouse because he's now in the public domain. That's like a big thing that happened that everyone was like talking about as it.
I don't think it's Mickey Mouse per se.
It's like Steamboat Willie era Mickey Mouse.
It's just,
yeah,
like it's not the same, but it's the same.
We'll have to get into this because I think there is some nuance to it.
Important. But
we're going to talk about that. We're recording this on January 1st, by the way, and already something has been announced that uses Steamboat Willie because it's now like public IP. We're going to talk about Xbox potentially revamping their achievement system, and we're going to talk about The Mandalorian because it's been a while. But before we talk about any of that stuff, have you guys ever broken a bone?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just don't know this about you guys, which is weird because we've been friends for so long and been doing a podcast for so long. I broke my first bone.
Good for you.
When?
That's my update. Yeah, this is also fun because
we literally just saw you a couple days ago. How did this happen?
I saw Techtic and Nerdbomber. I had them over to my house 2 days ago for our like holiday festivities after all the family stuff died down, and I was fine.
Yeah, his bone was fine.
My bone was fine. Everything was good. Also, I'm kind of overhyping this because, spoiler alert, I broke my toe. Or at least I think I broke my toe.
This isn't confirmed?
Ugh.
Here's the thing. And let's just get into this. So first of all, no one should ever own pets because how it happened was I was carrying something and we have a pet gate so that our pet doesn't get through to this part of the house where the litter box is and he eats the dog will eat the litter. I know that's gross, but that's what happens.
Delicious.
And I hit my toe on the pet gate, obviously quite hard. And you know how you stub your toe and you're like, wow, that's excruciatingly painful, but it's going to go away.
Which toe?
Yeah, that's also important detail. My fourth toe. So one in from the pinky.
Okay. So you're grabbing.
Pretty unimportant toe. Pretty unimportant. What? My grabbing toe? Pretty unimportant toe, all things considered. They say that the baby toe is like the most important toe you got. And then like big toe is probably second most important.
I thought the baby toe was the one that is expendable. Like people live without their baby toe. I thought it was.
No, that's a myth. What you're saying is a myth. You can live without your pinky toe.
I have broken a pinky toe and literally was told, hey, you're fine. Just don't put weight on it. It doesn't do a whole lot.
Well, that's right. So I heard pinky toe is super important for balance. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's a urban myth or something.
We need a real-time fact checker on this.
Right here. It's a myth.
Is the pinky toe important? I will Google this while you speak.
I mean, every toe is important. Hashtag not all toes. Or I don't what hashtag am I looking for? Hashtag toes are all loved or something. I don't know. Anyways, fourth toe, not an important toe. Let me start by saying that. However, when you're walking around, so I stubbed my toe and I was like, wow, that smarts. And then I kind of continued with my day and I sat down for a while to watch a football game because I'm an American. So I wasn't like doing anything with the toe during that time, obviously. But it was still hurting. So I also took off my sock to assess the toe. And it looked like a toe would. It looked fine. Then I did a bunch of stuff. We went out for New Year's Eve, because this is New Year's Eve, this all happened. We went out in the evening, and like I was walking around, and it was like really hurting. And I was like, this hurts. And that was the first time I was like, maybe I broke my toe. But then we got back, I went to sleep. I woke up this morning, and looked at the toe, because I'm not a sock sleeper, never have been. And we're in Purple Town. It's purple, which is not the color the toe should be. So at this point, I'm pretty sure I broke it. But the thing about broken toes in particular is that I could go to urgent care and they could be like, yeah, your toe's broken, or yeah, your toe's not broken. And I'm pretty sure the course of treatment wouldn't change because it's also, the toe's not like crooked or deformed in any way. It's just swollen and discolored. And like the area around the toe has also bruised. But they're just going to be like, yeah, you broke your toe. It probably hurts. That's life, kid.
No, I think you just bruised it. You're being a big baby.
I don't know. There's an orthopedic.
Really
there's an orthopedic urgent care. So I actually broke my pinky toe. God, this was like during the heart of COVID, doing something really stupid.
Is that the bone you broke?
No, that was not the only one. But I stubbed it real bad. I was running out of our bedroom and stubbed and caught just the pinky toe on the door frame. And it bent back. And then I continued because then we were going to play baseball. And so I continued to,
you played baseball on it?
Ran on it because I didn't want to admit, I thought I was just being a baby. And eventually did go to orthopedic urgent care for that. And they did recommend like a splint for it, I believe. And they said that because I had waited so long, because I like waited a decent amount of time and it was still like purple and gross. And then they said that the option was either to
remove the toe.
No, because it can't bend anymore. To break the toe so it could heal again, which I was like, no. Or just let it heal and keep it immobile. So at that point I was just like, well. But yeah, there's like a little splint thingy they can do to set it so it doesn't, heal poorly. Because right now I cannot bend that pinky toe anymore. Like, how when you curl your toes, that toe just sticks out. So
I mean, when I look at the toe, here's why I'm not super concerned. First of all, I do think it's entirely, as much as I'm being very grabby about this and saying I broke my toe, it's possible I didn't break my toe. I do think that I probably did, but I don't know for sure. The toe is perfectly straight. If anything, it looks straighter than the same toe on my other foot. So, like, I don't think they need to, like, reduce it or anything. So at this point, I think it's probably just, like, don't run. Yeah, just my workout plans for the new year, along with every other person, are, like, kind of ruined a little bit. But, at least I got a good reason.
I would recommend getting, like, a toe splint, because they do have things, because that was what they eventually told me to do. And I just bought mine off Amazon because I didn't want to pay the exorbitant fees you get if you buy it at a doctor's office. But it basically just like tapes it to your other toe, but they have them such that it's padded and it's Velcro, so you're not like actually taping your toe because that hurts.
Yeah, so what it is, I had to drive at one point today, and driving hurts because it's my driving foot. It's my right foot. It's my dominant foot. If I have to raise the toe for any reason, that's when bad stuff happens. And by bad stuff, I mean it really hurts.
I would tape that bad boy to the toe next to it.
Yeah, I probably will. I think we have tape around here somewhere. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. And again, it's like perfectly straight. It's just like swollen and purple and it hurts. And I managed to squeeze it in right before the year rolled around. So that was part of my experience of 2023 is I potentially broke a bone. I think it's probably like a hairline fracture. Like I didn't shatter the toe. But I do think something probably happened. Yeah, like internally. But it's toe, it's no big deal. So that's my salacious injury story. And now we can get into the news, into the wild world of news. I want to start with this Mickey Mouse / Steamboat Willie thing. So a while ago on this show, I actually think we've talked about a couple things on the show. I know Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey was one of them, but there was another one I can't elude me at the moment, where basically a beloved character is taken and rammed into a horror movie, or in this case, game experience, and like they're all bloody and gory and spooky, and it's an interesting juxtaposition, right? Because it's like a very happy character like Winnie the Pooh or Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie era. Long story short, there was a game announced today, January 1st, called Infestation 88. We got a brief trailer for it. The basic gist, it's called Infestation 88 because it takes place in the year 1988. You're in a warehouse. It looks like you are a team of exterminators. It's a 1 to 4 player survival horror co-op game. You're fighting rats, and I guess Steamboat Willie is like the Rat King. That was kind of my takeaway from this. He looks the way you can imagine a horrorified Mickey Mouse would look. I don't know if this is one of those games where, like, I think if this game, first of all, I think it's probably only a PC game, so I would likely never play it. But if I was a PC gamer and this was like, I don't know, $5,
no,
$5 or $10,
this genre of games annoys me because it slaps indie developers straight across the face. And the reason why I say
this is an indie game.
I know. Just let me say this. The reason why I say that is because I'm sure all of you have seen various horror games where they take Shrek and put him and mod the game so that he's just the scary thing walking around the shadows. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
That's all this game is. This is just a reskin, and it looks like a reskin of generic horror game here. They didn't put any real work into the story. They just said, hey, we can get...
Yeah, that's why I said $5. I wouldn't pay any more than $5 for it.
But I can't stand that. I can't stand these like shameless money grabs that just aren't any good contributions to the arts.
I don't know if I would say it's a shameless money. I mean, it is a shameless money grab, but like, I don't know if I would say that there's no unique portions of this game though. You're like a rat exterminator, and then there's Mega Rat. So like, it's not just like you trying to avoid getting killed.
But like even the Mega Rats are like they made sure to make it look like Steamboat Willie and not this mutant rat. Like it would have been better if it was just like a mutant rat.
But that's the shtick though. Like how many people are going to be playing rat exterminator game with large mutant rat?
Why is one just randomly in overalls? Like why?
Because he's the protector of the rats.
I understand your point, Techtic, I do, but I do think that like that is the premise. Given the fact that Steamboat Willie just entered public domain today and they announced it today, clearly they've been thinking about doing this for a while. I also say, I guarantee you this is not the only thing we're going to hear about like today or like in the next week that's like, hey, Steamboat Willie does X thing that you would never think he would do. That's like kind of just unfortunately going to happen for a while. I would also I would couch this in the context of, again, let's say this thing costs $5. I agree it shouldn't cost much more than that. You could either see a bad movie for $10, which happens pretty much constantly, or you could play a game for $5 that like might be memorable and at the very least might just give you a chuckle. Like I understand the point you're making about the like sanctity of art and all that, but there are so many worse offenders than this.
It's $5 and encouraged to play with friends because it's gonna be. It appears to me it's gonna be like The Last of Us. It's going to be like the Left 4 Dead formula, which means that $5 game is really $20 in sales, right? Because you're going to now encourage your friends to play it. And that's why I circle back to it's just a shameless money grab, and I am very much against this.
I don't know. I think there's a place. There's a place for meme games, and this is a meme game, and I think that's funny. So
I do think this game could do more based on and again, the trailer was very short, but I think it could do more to lean into the memeness and like the absurdity of it.
Meme games should just remain DLC. Like you have the base horror game and it's like, hey, you can reskin your characters to be Steamboat
But that's
Willie.
a mod, and a lot of mods are free. So essentially, I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't agree with that necessarily. I don't agree.
I think this game should avoid taking itself too seriously, but I do think, again, if this comes out and it's like $20, it's like, yeah, they're not on the right track. But if it's like a $5 nothing, again, you mentioned like 4 friends, like it's $20. It's like, again, okay, or you could go see a movie for $40. God knows there's at least one bad movie out at all times. So like, I'm not going to begrudge this. I'm not going to give this too hard of a time, I guess. And I do understand your point, but again, I would also say somewhat ominously that I doubt this is the worst we're going to see of this phenomenon over the next few weeks. This is one of the bigger characters entering public domain in a long time, and people, Disney now more so than ever is like a pretty divisive company. So like, I think a lot of people may also project their feelings about Disney onto Steamboat Willie, sometimes fairly, sometimes not, and like we're going to see some weird stuff.
And here's the thing, and give me a little bit of credit because at least I'm consistent, even with Blood and Honey, right? You're taking a beloved character, using it for shock value. I want to see people take these beloved characters from public domain and put something great. Like why is it always some weird twisted version of it? Make it something like honor them.
I don't disagree with that. Like, we should look. Did Blood and Honey, like, I'm pretty sure it did pretty well. And that, again, may be why this is happening.
It got panned.
Yeah, it had a bad Rotten Tomatoes score. And we know how I feel about Rotten Tomatoes, but, like, it had a pretty bad both audience and critic score. And I think is it on Hulu now? It's on maybe it's on Peacock. I don't know. It's on a streaming service now, so you can watch it for free.
Let me rephrase what I said, because what I more so meant was, and I'm on the Wikipedia now. This is direct from Wikipedia. This film received mostly negative reviews, but it was a success financially, which is all any company is going to care about. So like, they might have seen this and thought, okay, we'll do the same thing with Mickey Mouse and like make stacks on stacks.
The only thing that I would ever look forward to with this bastardization of beloved characters is if there is ever in a distant future, let's say a Mickey Mouse verse, right? Where no different than the Spider-Verse, where there's all these Mickey Mouse and then there's that thing, and then Mickey Mouse goes, "Ha, what the fuck is that?" And then everyone looks at that and then they move on. That's really what needs to happen.
See, I think you now that I'm we're getting to the heart of your issues with it. I think you just don't like seeing beloved characters be, bastardized or looked at in a different
Subverted.
light. And I love that.
But I don't. It's specifically they can bastardize them, but they like this looks so half-assed. Like they could have done something great, but from what we saw, it literally makes no sense and just looks like a reskinning.
From a marketing and money perspective, they're the first out the door. So even if it was half-assed, like I don't know when it was announced that Steamboat Willie, or like when it became more popular knowledge that Steamboat Willie was going to hit public domain, but there is something to be said about being the first one out, because now the next horror adaptation of Steamboat Willie that comes out, like it's not going to do as well, because it's going to be like, okay, well, you're late to the party here. This already happened.
You know what I would have really liked? If there was like, how we're always talking about bank robbing games and things like that. Like that's the way to do it, where like they happen to be wearing like a Steamboat Willie mask and like that's their whole like thing. There's like cool ways to do it.
You're talking about making a video game. I challenge you, and I know your first video game is going to be focused on like the online warrior side scroller stuff, but make a Payday style game with Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, and Steamboat Willie.
Piglet's not in public domain.
I thought he was.
Is he? Oh, you're right. It's Tigger that didn't make it.
Yeah.
Piglet and Pooh did. Tigger is still owned.
So if you want to see it and you have the skills, make it a reality, Techtic. Make it a reality.
No, I'd rather just be Old Man Yells at Cloud.
I don't disagree with you. Like, I won't argue that they could be doing a better job, but like Nerdbomber said, they're first out the door. I think this will probably be a success in some respect. Again, it may be the same as Blood and Honey, where like it's not a critical success, but like it makes them the money that they wanted from it.
Listen, I'm almost never the curmudgeon on this show. Just let me be that. Don't challenge me.
I'm not trying to stop you. I am. The public domain is weird too. Like I don't know. Like you asked, like how long they knew that Steamboat Willie was going to be public domain. Like I know that oftentimes it's like, all right, this character is going to be in the public domain like 50 years from now, and then like a countdown kind of starts. But like, I don't know if they can like re-up the rights on like at the 11th hour. So it's possible that no one really knew until like today, literally, that like, okay, it's just out now. So it is interesting to think that like potentially they were developing this game only for it to eventually, come out that Steamboat Willie was not going to be in the public domain, and therefore their whole game was like crap.
Well, no,
or maybe their fallback was, okay, it's just a giant rat now. It's not Steamboat Willie.
But that ties into why I think it looks like just a skinning. I think it was going to be just a generic thing, and then the second that happened, they just changed the character skins, and that was it.
Well, we won't know until it comes out and people play it. It's possible you're right. Even if you are right, I don't know that I'm going to give them that hard a time about it. I really don't. Like you said, it would be good if they did a better and more thorough job with it. But we've seen so much worse from IP.
That's recently what I was going to say. Like we've seen so much worse in general. Like if you go and look at the Steam store or the Nintendo eShop, where there's indies abound, there's a very low barrier to entry, I think, to getting your games listed on these platforms. Maybe not so much Nintendo, but definitely at least on Steam. And you sort by $5 games, and there is some veritable trash. And I know every, entry into art has merit in some degree, but like, let's be real. There are some $5 games out there that you're just like, what the hell? Like, why does this exist?
How did it happen?
Yeah, how did this happen? Like, you could do worse.
Yeah. For now, we can leave it at that. As much as I would like to hear Techtic yell at Clouds a little bit more, we can move on, try to make him happier, or make him more upset. I don't actually know, because this was the topic that he chose. I have to be honest, and I've been, admittedly, I've been out of the Xbox ecosystem for a while, but what I will say is that when I was in the Xbox ecosystem, you know what the last thing I gave a rat's patootie about was? Achievements.
Really?
No, you're wrong.
I could care less.
Wrong.
So when you're playing... I think this is a broader conversation about achievements and trophies as a whole. So like now that you're in like the PlayStation ecosystem, do you care about trophies even, or are they just like things that pop and you just don't give a shit?
Things pop and they're like, you did this thing. And I'm like, I wasn't really trying to, but thanks. I could give a damn. Like, I suppose if I liked a game a lot and I wanted to like 100% it, but even then, like, I don't care about the trophy. I just want to do it because of the game. Like when I believe I did wind up 100%ing Spider-Man. When I did that, it wasn't to get the virtual trophy. It was just because I liked the game and I liked what I was getting out of it. And I was like, I'm going to milk every last ounce of this game that I can. I do think I'm on the outside. I'm an outsider in this respect. I think people seem to really care about achievements, but I do not.
So I'm somewhere in the middle. 20-year-old Techtic was basically a pure Xbox player. That was kind of where he dedicated his time. So like seeing his gamer score relative to his friends' gamer scores, well, it was like a sense of pride where you ranked. It wasn't until I started dating Nerdbomber where I had to just say, I don't care about achievements anymore, because she is an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. And so that kind of, as I got older, I just said, I'm just going to enjoy the games and not worry so much about the gamer scores.
See, it's weird.
Yeah, I want to psychoanalyze this. I'm sorry, but like having a higher gamer score than your friends.
It's a dick measuring contest.
Does it make you feel like you are a better gamer, a better person?
Smaller
just
people.
Better in general?
Like smaller scores.
I don't get that.
It's proportional.
See,
I don't even know if it's a reasonable metric for how good of a gamer someone is. I would say it probably isn't.
My
so
mentality,
at that point, what's it for?
The gamer score to me just indicates how many games you've played, period. Because like I don't think I've ever 100%ed a game. Maybe like the Walking Dead games, because those are like telltale story-driven games, more easy to do. For me, I never really cared about achievements or gamer score until I started, ironically, dating Techtic, who is very obsessed with completing all of the different achievements. And to me, I find them...
And so she casually just rolled in with the super high score. Get out of here.
No, so for me, I get enjoyment from gaming and playing through stories, finishing stories. I don't even really look at achievements. As they pop, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's exciting. Look, I did something. But I am never I'm never going to be the person who grinds a game because there's an achievement to like 100% it. I don't have that in me. I get bored too quickly.
So when we play split screens co-op, can I be first player then from now on to make sure that I get
We've already established this. And so where he's getting this from is...
She's usually first player.
There was a point in time, especially on Xbox, in like the early Xbox One era, where if you played a split screen game, they had some bugs where only the first player, the player on the left, would get the achievement. So if you were playing like a campaign together, only the first player would get that achievement to pop. And for me, it had nothing to do with necessarily getting the achievement, but I usually bought the game at the time. So I was like, well, I want to be first player because I bought this game.
First would pop and I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me?
So for him, it was like, oh, well, you just want the achievement. And I'm like, well, no, I just want it to be first player because then the save game is connected to my profile and I want to be driving the bus. And so I think that is where his mentality of, oh, she cares about achievements. But I mean, there is some satisfaction. I will say now that Xbox has linked achievements in part to their like Microsoft rewards system and like Game Pass rewards, I will say like there have been moments where I will hunt down an achievement because I need to like complete a punch card to get like a $2 reward. So in that aspect, I might like pop onto an easy game to just finish an achievement so that I can get that. And like there is some value there. But like the achievement itself, like on PlayStation, I could give a rat's patootie. Like the only thing that I look at achievements for, or trophies, sorry, on PlayStation 4 is like, am I progressing in the game? Like how many achievements, like especially the hidden ones, I'm like, okay, so like
sure,
how far in the story am I? Here are all the hidden like seemingly story achievements, like how far along am I? I use that as like a benchmark.
I am glad you brought up PlayStation and not giving a rat's patootie, because specifically what this article is saying is that Xbox is revamping their achievement system to include things like platinum rewards and like basically what PlayStation has, but also add progress on achievements and things like that. Something that's been missing, right? Sometimes you won't have any idea of how far along you are in your achievements. All of a sudden it'll just pop.
PlayStation trophies, I believe, do report your progress towards trophies. So it's something
it's hit or miss with Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox,
some have it, some don't.
Have them, some don't.
And it's very challenging to like. I guess some games aren't like releasing that metadata, but like it's got to be tracking somewhere, or else you would get the achievement. And so to like normalize it from a progress standpoint is perfect. To make the gold, silver, platinum thing, I think that's dumb. I think that is why I don't really care as much as PlayStation, is because it's not a tangible like this many points. It's just gold, silver, platinum. And so I really like what Xbox has done, where it's like you get this many points for this achievement, and also, hey, this is a rare one. Here's a little diamond icon. That makes me feel really good about myself. When it's like, hey, we've surveyed how many people are getting this, and like you're amazing because no one else is getting this. You rule. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you for finally saying it, Xbox. I agree.
What I would anticipate And for what it's worth, I definitely agree that like Nerdbomber, at one point you said that like it's because you play a lot of games. I think that the gamer score in particular is probably a status symbol simply in the sense of the more games you play. Because like how many times do you go to start a game and just by like starting the game, they're like achievement unlocked, you started the game, here's some amount of points. Like I'm sure it's not many points, but I think there is an argument to be made that like it may be more of a volume indicator than anything else. And like, yeah, to some gamers, that is a status symbol of like, I've been around the block many, many times. I think that what I would anticipate, and again, I have no horse in this race because I'm not in the Xbox ecosystem anymore, but what I would anticipate, and I imagine what I myself would get out of this, if anything, is that the close ties to Game Pass system will either remain or intensify. Because at this point, Microsoft's whole game and what it should be is for more people to get Game Pass. And that would just be another reason to do so. You know, achievement unlocked. Hey, if you had Game Pass, you would have just won $2 for whatever you said, Nerdbomber. Like, I expect them to really start harping on that more so than they already are, if they already are. Otherwise, I don't really have a strong opinion on anything they've said that they're going to do.
What I think would really, because to your point of people enjoy being the status symbol of, look, I've been around the block. What I would really like to see is, and we've interviewed this team on the podcast before, is the creators of Good Game. They gave us a platform that you take all the games that you've ever played ever and you can get achievements and points that way. I'd really like that to happen, where it's like Microsoft's like, hey, these are all the Xbox games, but also, hey, you can load in your other stuff and we can build a whole profile for you.
Which will never happen because they only care about
that would
Microsoft
just be the
games.
bee's knees, you know? Because like I've been around the block, but not necessarily on Xbox alone. I am just a dirty gamer. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, Microsoft wants you to feel punished by that. They want you to look at your gamer score and be like, why is this so low? Oh, I haven't played enough Xbox games. I'm going to play more Xbox games. Like, to people where this score is important to them, that's their entire goal. It's just make people want to play more games and invest in Game Pass. So yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't have much of a horse in this race, if only because I don't have an Xbox and also because I don't really care about achievements or trophies. The only time I even see trophies is when I go to turn my PlayStation off and like you hit the button to like go to put it in rest mode and it's like, oh,
But
here's
like
this
I
trophy
said,
you won.
I think that's mainly because there's no value of the trophies in PlayStation. It's just a count, and it doesn't feel as good. So I think there's something to be said about that.
I think too that if I am a terminally single player gamer, so like that's another reason for me to just not care. Like, I think I'm probably friends with you guys on PlayStation, but I don't even know that I am because it doesn't matter. Like, I haven't played an online multiplayer game in I don't know how long, and there's really no end in sight to that trend. So I'm existing in a vacuum. So I'm not ever inclined, nor do I get the opportunity to compare any sort of metric with anybody else. So that's probably another reason that I could just really take it or leave it. But yeah, so purportedly coming this year, there's really no rollout timing specified by this article, but 2024. Prepare for perhaps more platinum stuff or more Gamer Pass interaction, Game Pass interaction, I should say, and stuff like that. Okay, well, that brings us to the midpoint of the episode, so we're going to take a short break and come back to talk about The Mandalorian. But before we do that, it's 2024, another year with our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Steven Keller. Steven joined us recently on the show. That was one of the benefits he reaped as part of his night level subscribership on our Patreon. That is the highest of our 3 levels of Patreon support. As a knight, Steven, of course, gets input into the weekly game segment, which Techtic will be hosting later. Clean slate. Everyone's at 0 and 0 for 2024, starting later. He also, of course, gets input. He gets the producer shout out every episode. He gets the occasional guest spot on the show, and of course, access to the monthly secret segment and the monthly vlog. As a Squire level, which is our second level of support, you get our access to our monthly secret segment and vlog, and the page level gets access to the monthly secret segment. So the details on all of those levels of support can be found over at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Head over there, check us out. Say hi to Steven, say hi to us. Consider giving back to this show and keeping us chugging through 2024. We'll take a short break now. Thanks again to Steven. We will come back to talk about The Mandalorian.
I'm Harrison.
I'm Jordan.
Well, I'm Harrison.
I'm fucking Jordan.
All right.
And we're the Grief Rio podcast. Let us be your unnatural Sherpa guides on this existential plane of mountainous game and movie exploration.
And don't forget about that spookiness that lives within us all, but mainly in you spooky bitch.
How damn offensive.
end it. We've been voted the best podcast to listen to by many.
By many, that means a few. That's more than one.
Results may vary. We'll see you on the next episode of Grief
Burrito, yeah!
Yes!
All right, welcome back. We are going to talk a little bit about The Mandalorian. Now, I think it was like a year ago, 2 years ago, at some point, a topic came across our desk that was like, hey, look at this footage for this Mandalorian video game. And we were like, wow. And then, like, I think that just died. I don't know what wound up happening to it, but we certainly haven't seen that since.
I honestly forgot that even existed.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show. I don't know if it was the thing we're talking about here, but long story short, ID Software, best known for the Doom and Quake franchises, is reportedly working on a Star Wars licensed game exclusive to the Xbox. And it seems like there's a lot of information to suggest that it's going to be focused on The Mandalorian, which makes sense, right? I mean, let's just, we don't have basically any other detail. This is essentially a leak. Says that developers could be targeting a 2024 or 2025 release. I would certainly think it would be the latter because we haven't heard a single thing about this.
Based on the pedigree of the developers, I think this is a good fit if it's going to be a fast-paced shooter, which the fact that Mando has jetpacks leads me to believe, and is primarily a shooter, I feel like that's a good fit for this.
The idea is a no-brainer. I'm sure we said the exact same thing when the other Mando footage leaked. It's amazing it hasn't really happened yet. Now, I will say, and I'm sure I brought up before, that Star Wars Bounty Hunter is a game from what I would consider to be the golden age of Star Wars video games, which was back in the GameCube era. And it's one of the best games ever. If you ever get an opportunity to play it by emulation or whatever, looking at you, Techtic, I would say go ahead and do it because it's really fantastic. In a lot of ways, it's what I can imagine the Mandalorian kind of being. I would think in today's day and age, it would lean a lot more into the multiplayer shooter aspect than Bounty Hunter did, because I don't think Bounty Hunter even had a multiplayer shooter mode. But it's a no-brainer. And I would also say, the main thing that I would want and the main thing that I would hope that they would do is not involve Baby Yoda at all. When they say Mandalorian game, I don't know if they mean a game about the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, or just a Mandalorian. I would hope it's the latter, but I don't know for sure.
There's 100% going to be Baby Yoda in this game. There has to be, for the same reason that you guys are like, oh no, I get why Steamboat Willie's in there. There has to, Baby Yoda puts asses in the seat. But that said, we have been clamoring for a good Star Wars shooting game for quite some time. And what we got over the years, we got some, but they were really just kind of multiplayer online, and they didn't really hit from a good story. That's what we need here, and that's what's going to be most important. Is this needs to be solo story, pull on your heartstrings, gameplay. That is it.
Well, so the other thing I would say too is that I think before this game comes out, we are going to get that from Star Wars Outlaws. Lest we forget that it's supposed to come out, I believe, later this year. And I think, if anything, that is going to be the more story-driven single-player experience that I would want from a game like The Mandalorian. Like I said, I think the Mandalorian game is probably going to lean more into multiplayer. And I don't begrudge it that opportunity.
I don't know if that's the case, though, because if you look at, Doom there are multiplayer aspects in Doom. And I guess, Quake was a multiplayer game as well.
Quake is multiplayer only.
The Doom franchise, the reboot, the bulk of that game and what was super successful about Doom and what was Doom Eternal?
Eternal, yeah.
Both of those lived and died on their single player campaign. The multiplayer was fun, don't get me wrong, but what I took away from both of those games was how incredible the single player experience was. So I wouldn't doubt, do you remember in the PS3/Xbox 360 era, there were a bunch of games that were single player games and then had side-loaded multiplayer experiences that weren't the bulk of the game, but once you finish the single player experience, you could go and pew some more with people online. I feel that would be the appropriate thing to do with this game. Make a really stellar single player experience. Sure, slap some multiplayer shooting on as a side part of the game, but focus on single player. That's what I want. I really hope they don't really lean into multiplayer for this one.
Counterpoint, money.
But I think all of these games as a services, a lot of them are flopping or at least not being financially huge studios are hoping they will be.
Here's my thing is obviously one of the main ways multiplayer forward games make money is microtransactions, and microtransactions tend to be cosmetic. Do you know how many bells and whistles you can put on a Mandalorian suit of armor? It's like 1 billion. Like,
well, yeah, you
part
got
of me thinks that...
But that's wrong, because if you follow the lore of the Mandalorian, a lot of like the types of armor and things like that were earned from missions. Okay, they were from some kind of trials that they went through, and they got this piece of armor or this stamp put on their armor or whatever. And to go, good job, you have earned this, because $3.99 is dumb.
I don't want to come across as completely jaded by the capitalist video game system, but I'm sorry, they just don't care about that. There's no chance that they care about that at all.
I disagree, because like Halo is a good example of various skins and things that you earned from achieving things.
Yeah, Halo also...
And honestly, Halo combat would probably work pretty well with this. I
also think that Halo was a lot more successful than it currently is back before microtransactions were a thing. I don't know. We should make a bet on this or something. And like, I guess I don't know what the specifics and particulars would be, but like, I suspect it's going to be a multiplayer forward experience.
No.
That's going to be littered with microtransactions.
No. They'll literally destroy the game.
Let's bet.
A Cuban sandwich.
It's a very good bet. I appreciate the stakes. You're on. I'm going to leave it to you to write it down and like keep track of it. But I stand by my opinion. We'll see. We have no other information. Like I said, this is basically a leak. No idea on release date. Seems like 2024, 2025. Hopefully it's better than Battlefront 2. I think we can all agree on that. As someone who played through the entire Battlefront 2 campaign especially, I think we can agree on that. That brings us to What Are You Up To Wednesday. This is the part of the show where we talk about what we've been up to, and we've had a bit of a break here, so especially considering that I haven't been working because it's been that time of year. I got a lot to update on. I'm going to turn it over to someone else first, though. I'm going to turn it over to Nerdbomber to start us off. I assume we're all probably in similar boats, but Nerdbomber, take it away. The floor is yours.
All right, so I've read a lot of like Christmas rom-com books. Honestly, like, this is going to sound terrible. Many of them are not super notable. I mean, I was looking for very easy Christmassy type reads that were on like Kindle Unlimited. And so I sprinted through a bunch of those. They were great, very seasonal, you know. We also watched a bunch of Christmas rom-coms, and I get it. Christmas was last week, but the week between Christmas and New Year's, like, that is what you do. So we watched About Fate. That was actually more of a New Year's sort of holiday movie. And it's got Emma Roberts, Julia Roberts' niece, Emma Roberts, and some other guy whose name I don't know. I'm bringing an endorsement here, but this has been on Prime for like the last year or so. And the idea is that, you know, there's happenstances where these people who are in relationships with other people end up bumping into each other, and then there's a mix-up where they end up helping each other out and going to a wedding together on New Year's Eve, and it's just like a very light and airy rom-com. It was fine. I wouldn't necessarily call it the greatest movie out there. Wasn't the worst in terms of production value. It was fine.
It was standard meet someone else while you're out and about and leave your whole life behind rom-com trope.
And then literally within the same night, we watched a movie with a similar trope with Zoe Deutsch called Something at Tiffany's. And again, in relationships with other people, and then they end up coming together because of crazy fate and happenstance. And it was another cute rom-com. That one I actually liked a little bit better. I thought it had higher production value and just seemed a little bit less cringy, I guess. Less cringy is the right word. Like, they actually seemed like real people with real lives, real problems. The relationships that they were in dissolved for like real reasons, and not just like, oh my God, I met this person and now I love them, so I'm going to blow up my whole life. Like, it made a little bit more sense, and it was enjoyable. And then I've also been, you know, swinging my way through Spider-Man 2. I think I'm about 70% done with the game. The way that I play Spider-Man is anytime a side mission comes up and there's a dot on my map, I have to go and clear them out before I play the next story. Yeah, like I have to do it. So I've played pretty much most of the side missions that have been available to me at this point. I think there's like one thing that I'm waiting on, like one side story that I'm waiting on to finish out, but I'm swinging my way through that story, pun intended, and it's pretty good. There are a lot of twisty turnies, as Techtic told me. The gameplay is still very tight. I do like there are more skills and abilities for the characters, like they continue to develop new skills. I'm sure if you remember I don't know if Spider-Man 1 had these so much, but at least in Miles Morales, like he had the electric abilities. And, you know, as you work through the game, he continues to develop his electrical abilities. There's more gadgets that you can use, and it's neat. I think the only thing that I'm not really hitting, like I did with the first couple games, is like the suits. Like I found a suit for each character, and then I'm looking through the rest of them, and I'm just like, okay.
Oh yeah, once you find your suit, there's no changing after that.
And I remember...
Yeah, I think that was my experience with the first game, too. I think I found a suit I liked, and then I would get new ones, and I'd be like, I don't want that. My suit rules.
And like in the first game, and this is probably my only critique, in the first game, they incentivized you to unlock new suits because there were powers attributed to that suit. And then once you unlocked it, you could like go back to a different suit design, but keep that power. Whereas in this game, it's literally just cosmetic. There's no reason to get the suit. So I'm like, well, why would I do that then?
I prefer that, honestly. You get the suits so that you can, you know, get your achievements. Wink, wink, shove, shove.
But like we just discussed, I don't necessarily care about that. So now I'm like, I have no reason to unlock any of these suits, which means that I have a bunch of like city tokens and like things that I've collected around the town that don't mean anything to me.
But the game,
See, I just unlock them to unlock them. I don't even put them on. I'd be like, I got that one unlocked. I have the option. You know,
that's what I'll do at the end of the game. I'm sure
Right.
I'll just go through and like rip through them and unlock them all. But like there was something to be said about having a reason to unlock them rather than just like a cosmetic thing.
you want to feel more drawn to actually doing so rather than just waiting until the end and having a spending spree.
But other than that, that's really my only critique of the game. I think there's a lot of improvements. The web wings, I wasn't sold on at first, but then
the web wings are great.
You do move faster through the map, and even like the fast travel. So in the first few games, you remember you had like the subway scene when you fast traveled. So it really like you didn't want to fast travel, and this is probably a result of having the SSD and the PS5. But if you fast travel in Spider-Man 2. There's no cutscene. You just swing into whatever section you fast traveled into. And so I'm not as averse to doing so instead of swinging through the whole map, which is cool.
Yeah, I'll be curious when I play this game like 7 or 8 months down the road from now. I'll be curious to see how it goes for me. I assume I'm going to like it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Sounds
so that's
good.
that's my what are you up to?
Okay, I'll take the baton from you. I've read a few books. I've been doing a lot of reading. I've received a book as a Christmas gift called Hercule Poirot's Christmas. If you don't know who Hercule Poirot is, he's like Agatha Christie's most famous detective. So it's a Christmas-themed murder mystery. Blew through that in a couple days. And then I received another gift another book as a gift called The Twist of the Knife. Or actually, I think it's A Twist of the Knife, which is the latest in the Hawthorne Investigates series of books by Anthony Horowitz, which I've talked about on this show before. They are fantastic. I read the latest one in like 2 days or like a day and a half. I could not put it down. So recommend that series. Continue to recommend that series to any who are interested in murder mysteries. Aside from that, I also want to shout out a couple of movies. I'm still playing God of War. I'm not really going to get into that. Pretty much the same. I love it. It's great. It's just taking a while. But a couple of movies I watched. I watched May December, which is a movie on Netflix. It is not a pure retelling of the Mary Kay Letourneau, I guess, incident. For those who don't know what that is, just like look it up on Wikipedia. But it's essentially a story that is loosely based on those events, starring Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. It's nominated for, I think, a few Golden Globes. I will say it's nominated in like the comedy category, and it's maybe the least comedic movie I've ever seen, so I don't really understand that too much. But it was very entertaining. Not exactly an upper of a watch. Similarly, also watched a movie on Netflix called Leave the World Behind, which stars Julia Roberts and Mahershala Ali. It is about the world ending. Well, it's about the world coming close to ending. Basically, how a dystopian future would start. Let me put it that way. Again, not an upper. Again, very, very satisfying watch. Very well produced. Would recommend it. Also, Ethan Hawke is in it. I didn't mention him, but the cast is fantastic. It's well written, just not really an upper. So yeah, that's it. Otherwise, kind of just been going through Christmas festivities, receiving a bunch of gifts that I'm excited to use. I got a new Kindle, so that's very exciting for me.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be the year of like me reading like 50 books, but we'll see how that goes. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew, and I haven't like set a resolution to like read 30 books. I'm just going to like read however many I read.
But also, if you have a library card, download the Libby app.
I already have the Libby app. Shout out to the Libby app. I think I have like 5 or 6 books in my queue. I don't put holds on things. I just like leave things in there, and then when I need a book to read, I'll go and look and see what's available. Because like there's a couple books I have in there that like no one's good. They're not trendy books. No one's going to check them out. But it's a fantastic app. I recommend it. Yeah, that's it for me. I'll turn it over to Techtic to finish this out and take us into the quiz.
Okay, so I want to talk about two things, mainly Christmas presents that I got this year that I was just really excited for and really enjoyed playing. And the first one is we got a Tetris board game, and it's a kind of a real quick rounds. There's every player gets this matrix grid, which is your Tetris feed basically. It's this like plastic vertical board. And every turn you flip a card and it shows you what the card is that you have to, what the piece you have to drop in, and what the next one coming is, standard Tetris. So you're all filling out your board simultaneously, trying to get rows as in normal Tetris, but also trying to achieve random challenges, which are like bonus points on the side. And so the rounds go very quick, and you're trying to kind of do multiple things at once in parallel, always adjusting to what the next card is and filling out the board. Nerdbomber is terrible at this. I went 3-0 against her.
To be fair, it was like 11 at night, and there were challenges that I was focusing on more than like filling out rows.
Yeah, so and that's just the point. If you focus on just the challenge, you're missing out on the rows. If you focus on just the rows, you're missing out on the challenges. And so you have to be very cognizant of all of these parallel things to be successful, like me. So that was a ball. I really enjoyed winning at that game. And then the other thing is Nerdbomber got me a bunch of games for my N64. So I was able to play Mario Party, Gauntlet Legends, and Zelda Majora's Mask are all ready to go. So pretty excited about that.
Cheers, man. Yeah, and happy holidays to all, obviously. Hope you all are enjoying, the season, and also hopefully getting a couple of nice gifts and give you something to look forward to in the new year. Techtic, you're driving the bus today for the quiz, which means you are going to remain 0-0. The scores have been reset. Nerdbomber 0-0, myself 0-0, Steven 0-0. So it's a clean slate. Obviously, I have a lot to make up for, but it starts now. The dominance starts now. So Techtic, without further ado, take it away.
Okay, so the quiz topic is human aids, all things surrounding tools that were invented to aid humankind with various impairments. So with the first question is, when were eyeglasses invented? So we're going to have Nerdbomber go first because she won last year.
So when were eyeglasses invented? I feel like this was pretty early. I don't know. Like didn't they have like spectacles back in like the day?
Eyeglasses is what we're...
But what defines an eyeglass?
2 lenses that you wear on your face.
I'm going to say 1180.
Feels like a very specific number. I think you're real close. We're talking like Renaissance times. I'm going to go earlier. I'm going to say... We're not going back to Jesus times. I'm going to say 600 AD.
Okay, so Nerdbomber gets this one. She was actually very close. The earliest known record of eyeglasses is by an Italian friar, where he referenced him having met the inventor of the spectacles in 1287 AD.
Wow, look at me go. Good start to the new year.
I thought about +1ing, and I really should have done it, but that's fine. I'm going to save it.
When was the first electronic hearing aid invented?
Okay. Boy, I feel like I can back this out. Fairly certain we're in the 1900s here. I think we're in the 50s. I'm going to say 1952.
I feel like it might have been before that. I don't know why. I'm going to say 1900.
So you both busted, and
Really?
Nerdbomber's going to be upset about this one.
It's like 1899 or something.
So while the first hearing aids were created in the 17th century, they had like ear trumpets and things like that. The movement toward modern hearing aids began with the creation of the telephone, and the first electronic hearing aid was created in 1898.
Damn.
Boy, that's interesting. I stand corrected. I thought it would have been way later than that. Okay, fine. I'll take the no points. That means I'm still here.
Okay, so in addition to various devices, there has also been other things that have been created around history. When was sign language first established as a method of communication for those with hearing impairments?
Again, I want to say this is like fairly early. I feel like sign language was a thing that existed for a while. I'm going to say the 1300.
Yeah, I think we get into an issue here with recorded history, because I imagine there being civilizations that used it before then, but it may not be known. I'm going to say, would you say 1300?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to say 1301. I'm going to use my +1.
So there is early evidence of sign language being used for ceremonies and trade communication amongst Native American communities, but it was not due to hearing impairments. The earliest concrete reference to sign language is actually from a British wedding of a deaf man named Thomas Tilsey in 1575.
Okay, sweet. That was a close one, but I used my +1 wisely. Okay, 1-1.
All right, so it's all tied up. When is the earliest evidence of prosthetics?
Earliest evidence of prosthetics. Boy, again, I feel like this has to be very early. I have a thought. I'm going to go with 1865.
I feel like that's way too late. Like, weren't pirates out here with peg legs? Like, does that count? Or is this like mechanical prosthetics?
Technically, a peg leg is a prosthetic.
Okay, I'm going to say the year 1, the Big Bang.
Like before human creation.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm giving myself a wide window here.
Okay. So you're not going to use your +1. You're going to use your 0, 0, 0, 0. Not even Jesus time, just 0.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good answer.
Yeah, I was trying to bait you into using your +1. I knew I was too late, but I was just trying to bait you into using your +1 and wasting it. You didn't take the bait, so good for you.
No, I used my other phone a friend line. Is it, or lifeline? Is that what they called it?
Prosthetics originate around ancient Egypt timeframe, circa 3000 BCE.
Okay, so when you said 1, you were trying to clarify. Okay, did you mean
like
180?
the Big Bang. The
She
Big
meant like
Bang.
all the pre-Jesus times, way back. Okay, well done. It's 2-1, and there's one question left.
All right, so the last question.
No more +1s. We're just straight up playing the game now.
The last question was, when was Braille invented?
Oh, I'm glad I don't go first.
I'm going to stick with what's working. 1100.
It's a strong answer. I do think it's later than that. I'm going to give you some buffer, and I'm going to say 1500.
All right, so we're all tied up. Louis Braille was a French educator who invented the tactile system of reading and writing for the blind and visually impaired in 1824.
So we're in text-in territory. Good way to start the year.
Okay, so the final text in question is, when was robotic speech invented for paralyzed patients using their brain waves?
Wow. Interesting. Okay, my answer's in.
So Nerdbomber guessed 1995, and Illeagle guessed 1996.
Oh, damn.
The correct answer, so basically Nerdbomber would have had to nail it, is 2007.
Whew.
So computational neuroscientist Frank Gunther of Boston University developed the first speech BCI way back in 2007. So it takes it home.
Starting off the new year the correct way. Very exciting for me. New year, new me, etc., etc. Nerdbomber, well played. Sorry I +1'd you inadvertently, but that's that,
That's how the cookie crumbles.
So I'll be hosting the quiz next week. In the meantime, we thank you all for joining us. Feel free to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Hit us up on our Twitter accounts. @OWIllegally6 is me. We also have @OW Nerdbomber, @OW Techtic, and our main show account @OnlineWarriors1. You can also head over to Patreon at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Say hi to us there. Consider giving back to the show. We'll see you all next week. And in the meantime, stay safe. Keep on podcasting.